everyone, in this video I'm going to show you everything you need to know to do a really cool little scarf on your Gallery London S-Loom. Now to do this, what you're going to need, I am a fan of Caron Simply Soft. It has a nice sheen to it and I just like the way it looks. So I got it in a green, I got it in a red. You're going to need, I'm just going to tie the ends of these together. And there's no special peg markings for this because I'm only using a small section of the loom. So you got your yarn, you'll need a pair of scissors, a row counter helps, and your loom tool, and a crochet hook when you're done just to weave your ends in. Now how you find your chart, which you can see this, I've got a bunch on here. I've got leaves, I've got a candy cane, I've got a couple different trees, I got a couple different snowmen on here, a dreidel. But we're just going to do like a Christmas tree. And I'm going to show you, when I'm done showing you everything, you'll be able to look up your own chart and do whatever it is that you want to do. I just typed in, I did Google, you can use Bing, Yahoo, anything. I just wrote Christmas tree knitting chart graph. And then you just look down and you find one that you like. And there's all kinds on here. I'm just going to kind of scroll down so you can see some of the different ones. But whichever one you find that you like, that one's actually really cool. But that would be done on a very big project. We want something that's going to be done on a small project, not very wide. Okay, let's look at this one. Now there's something you want to look at. You want to think of how wide you want it and you want to count your pegs. So on this, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, no more than 15. If we start going any farther, it's going to start offsetting, and when you're doing this technique, you don't really want to be skipping pegs. So we really don't want it to be any more than 15. So then, the way these graphs work, the rows going this way is the number of pegs, because each row is a peg. The rows going this way, or however many rows it takes to do the design. So that doesn't even matter. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so this one is an 11 peg. It's going to be 11 wide. So we want to go at least 2 more out to the edge. 11, 12, 13. So we'll do 2. So we'll try to do 15. And I'll get back to that in a minute. I just wanted to kind of show you how to pick out your chart. Now I'm going to attempt to show you how to do your cast on and everything with just this right here. Now I will need a piece of scrap yarn. I'll show you how to finish up your edge later. You want to get a different color. This is a different shade red. It's honestly just the first piece of string I've seen sitting over here. So I've got that. And where did I tie my ends together? Here's my ends where I tied them together. So to do this, we will be working both sides at the same time. Now I'm going to wrap these. We don't want that knot right there, so I'm going to hang that kind of up here so we have a little bit of extra hanging out. Oops. And your yarn, we want to, of course my cat's back here holding onto the yarn. Actually, so I have a longer tail. I'm hooking it over there. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I'm going to just so I have a longer tail. Okay, so what we want to do is we need to wrap this so that one side will be red and one side will be green. So what you do is you get it going on one side, get it going on the other side. You twist it. Now if I did like this and just kept twisting it, it would be red and green stripes. So I'm going to twist it 2 times. And if you want to avoid big knots in your yarn, or your yarn getting all tangled up, what you can do is you don't have to wrap it the same way each time. You can wrap it twisted one way, then wrap it twisted another. And as you can see, I'm getting all tangled in this right here. Typically when I do this, I hold it like in my legs to where I can kind of hold the loom sort of vertical and do this. But I'm trying to do this so I can show you guys in real time exactly how I am doing this. And this will wiggle however you want. You just get it in the middle as best you can. Try not to skip pegs. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oops. 12. 13. Promise, it's not this as hard as I'm making it look once you sit down and do it. Oh, that one 13, so 14, this should be 15. As you can see, it's starting to tilt a little bit. It's not just straight across, starting to tilt. So you really don't really go much farther than this. Maybe if you did along this stretch right here, you might be able to. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. Okay, when you get your 15 pegs on there, just twist it so the green's on the green side and the red's on the red side. And then we're going to take, where's my scrap yarn? You want to push all of them down before you start your next row. You want to take your scrap yarn, just place it on top of these, because right now nothing's really holding that stuff locked in. Just pull it down through the one side. This side will pull down through later. But this will separate out our first row. I will show you later how to finish that off. So right now you're just going to have that string going in and you're going to be ignoring it. So you've got that twisted so the red's on the red side and the green's on the green side. You're just going to go back the exact same way you just did all the way down to the end to where all these pegs are full. You're going to have 2 loops of green on the back side and 2 loops of red on the front side. You'll be taking your bottom loops over your top loops and go ahead and do like 3 or 4 rows like that, so you'll get a nice little brim going of one collar, and then I'll show you how you switch your collars. Okay, so I got a couple rows going and I went ahead and pulled that starting string and that red string down through. You can tie this if you want, or you can leave it loose. Just I prefer to tie it. That way you don't accidentally pull it out. I'll just tie a bow, and then I can easily take it out later without having to cut it. As you can see, the one side's starting to show red, the other side's showing green. I did 3 rows. You can do however many rows you want though. But I'm going to show you, okay, so here we've got our chart. Now, I'm going to block some of this off. We're going, let me double count this to make sure I got this right. Okay, I think we went 2 out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so with our chart, I'll just flip this. We went 2 extra out. So that's how our chart goes. We did a couple rows blank. I'm just doing the tree part, and I'm only doing the first few rows to show you how to do it, and then I'll show you how to cast off, finish off, and all that. So we're on the row where we're going to start doing the trunk, because we're going to work top to bottom. On the opposite side of the scarf, when you get to the other end of the scarf, if you want like one tree on each end of the scarf, on the other end you want to work top to bottom. On the first end you want to work bottom to top. That way the tree will both be facing the right way on both sides. So we need to count and figure out. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So peg number 8 is where we're going to need to switch collars. So let's go ahead and look on here and already know which one peg 8 is. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This right here is peg 8. So we go ahead and we work it like normal to peg 8. Oops. So we got 1, 2, 3. Oopsie. Okay. Sorry, this is a lot more difficult to do this way than how I normally hold it, and I can't hold it the way I want to hold it and have the camera still focusing on it. Now, and if you end up doing big panels of something using this technique, every few pegs you can actually go ahead and take the bottom loop over the top just to hold it in place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you want to get that in the middle as much as possible. The cat is moving this out of my way. Dexter, you're being a jerk. Honey, I gotta move you. Thank you. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is peg 8 right here. So instead of double twisting it, all you do is you just twist it one time and reverse the collars. That is all there is to it. Sorry, the cat keeps trying to lay on top of the loom. Okay. And then when you get to the other one, we only have the one peg in the middle right here that's switched. So then you just go right back to your original collar. And the reason I suggest always making your chart through the whole thing at least a couple pegs wider is because sometimes it can be, you got to remember which side's red, which side's green, and sometimes you can get a little backwards on that. And that just helps you to where you can just look at your last peg and be like, okay, well this one's green, this is red. Oops. Bottom loop over the top. And if you started and you're working it along with me, your first few rows are going to be loose, and that is fine. That's normal. That's what that string will help do. That pulls it all down and tightens it up. And you're just going to go through both sides, take your bottom loops over the top. And as you can see, you got that one green there. That's the bottom of that tree stem. You'll do another row with green, and then like your next row you actually just follow this exactly. So your big thing is, all you do is just count your pegs and make sure the right collar's on the right peg. And the reason I suggest using a pattern that is completely symmetrical is because on row 1 I'm working this way. Row 2, I'm working this way. So if the pattern's not symmetrical, I have to reverse the pattern in my head, and it gets very confusing at that point. But I'm going to do just a few rows of this so you can kind of see how it turns out a bit. And then I will show you how to do the cast off, because you don't have to use this chart. You can use any chart you want. You can make up your own chart. Just have fun with it. And I'll show you, I'll get the piece big enough to where I can show you the cast off and how to finish it up to where you'll be able to see good. Okay, I got a few rows. You can see how the tree design is starting to show. So you just finish your project up. You can do little cup holders. You know, just do a simple little design and do your cast off and everything. Or you can continue the project, do the one tree, or you can do multiple trees. What I suggest, if you're doing a scarf, work your project. Let's say you want a bunch of trees on it. Work it until it is half the length you want it, and then you start working the graph from the top to the bottom so it'll flip the tree. That way your trees will be all facing the correct direction. See, like here's the stem and the trees coming up. If you kept doing that chart, when you're done, the trees on the other side will be upside down. Now I'm going to go ahead and cast off. But let me see, I'll go ahead, get that out of the way. Okay, to do a cast off or something like this, take the yarn from one side of the loom, move it to the opposite. Now every peg will have both collars on it now when you're done. I'll just work this all the way down real quick. And you can use either a super stretchy cast off or a crochet cast off. I'm just going to do like a simplified version of the crochet cast off. For me, I just like it better. When working with long projects, it seems easier for me to do. Okay, let me zoom in, show you what I just did. There we go. Now, see if I can get this to hold still. I'm going to work the cast off with both strands as well. You can do it with one if you want, or you can do it with two. So I'm going to take and pull the yarn up through the bottom on that last peg, like I'm doing a purl stitch, but the yarn is still hooked to the spools. So what I'm going to do is just kind of tighten that up a little bit. You're going to take your working yarn, run it through it one time. So you just did one chain. Now you're going to go to the second peg, and you're going to pull that loop up through. You want to make sure nothing falls off the loom while you're doing this. Do one chain in between. And you're going to do this all the way down. Oops. I'm at the last peg here. And what you do is, you just pull the loop through. And instead of chaining one, you just cut your yarn and pull that through. And that will lock it in. And then the whole thing will come off the loom. And you can see how the tree was starting to turn out, and the back side's going to be opposite, and this is what that cast off looks like. This you'll weave in with a crochet hook. But right now I'm going to take my crochet hook, because this side it's going to want to flare out real big. So I'm going to undo the string. You're going to leave the string in there. The more contrast you have with that string, the better, the easier it is to do this part. Oh, sorry. But what we're going to do is we're going to start on, let me see which end has, okay. We're going to start opposite the end with your starting yarn. So we'll start on this end. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hook through the first two strings, which they kind of meet up at the top here. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to take that second loop through the first. Take second loop through the first, and try to make, like, rotate back and forth. Do a green, do a red. Do a green, do a red. Because they're both right together. It's the second one, and then there's a red one right here. And you do this all the way across. Oops, make sure I'm have this up here so you guys can see it. See how the yarn is kind of a knot there, where both were hooked together. You go through one, and there's going to be a red one right beside it. You pull it up, and that just makes it a little more even at the bottom here with how the collars are being pulled up. See? Do this until you get all the way to the end. Once you get all the way to the end, you can actually take that extra string you had running through and pull it out. And then all you do is you take your cast on edge, pull it through, and tighten it. And there you go. That edge is finished off, and this edge is finished off. This one, if you want more stretch to it, how you do the one chain in between where you have your hoop and you pull the working yarn through it, do a second one, and that'll have a lot more stretch. Or you can do a super stretchy cast off on that end. There's a separate video to show you a super stretchy cast off. But that's really all you need to know to do this technique, which is intarsia, or there's another word for it. It's just picture knitting. So all you have to do is just do a search for whatever type of chart you're looking for. Just type in, let's say, snowman knitting chart or elf knitting chart or anything like that. See, you can do all kinds of stuff. You can do wordings, like I did Happy Holidays on this, and then you just stitch it together and you've got an ear warmer. There's all kinds of things you can do. You can do, if you want this a tighter stitch, you can actually use a thicker yarn and it'll make it a lot tighter looking. But that's all there is to this. I really hope this video is helpful. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me or you can leave it in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.